So, where did you stay last night?
At McDevitt's. I got to drinking with Doyle and a couple of the guys.
That explains why you look so ill today. Did you get any sleep at all?
Not much. I had to share the room with another guy.
Did he snore?
Hardly. He was dead. Then Leary woke me in the middle of the night to help bail out the cellar.
The cellar was flooded?
Yeah, some idiot had left the faucet running.
And you say Pigram has disappeared?
Without a trace. But my visit wasn't a complete waste of time.
Pigram's gem?
The Templars' gem. Whoever Jacques Marquet is, he's in for a disappointment.
Jacques Marquet?
He's the guy who should have collected the gem from Fitzgerald.
I've been reading about Pigram in this magazine.
The media got its claws on him.
Yeah, if I was his agent, I'd get him to lose the pipe.
That dig must have been pretty important to him. He resigned his chair at Durham University to go to Ireland. And now he's disappeared. See what you can find out about Professor Pegram.
I'll speak to the university. What are your plans?
I want to find out who, what, or where Montfauçon was. All I've got to go by is the name and a picture of a hanged man. What do you know about Professor Pegram?
I've seen a television program, Pigram's Past. He's written a book, The Crusader Families of Ireland.
Let's take another look at the manuscript. That's the tripod in the Crune Museum. That's the gem that Pegram found in Lochmarne. Do you want to look after the gem?
No, Josh. I'd be too tempted to sell it.
Look, Nico, a handful of plaster.
Yeah. Why is it that men never really grow up?
What's your problem, sister?
Your pockets stuffed with useless junk like little boys.
You never know when useless junk might come in handy. Look, Nico, a handful of plaster.
Yeah, you showed me.
I can't sit here all day, much as I'd like to.
Okay. Don't forget to look for Lopinot at the Crune Museum. And why don't you see if Rosso has heard anything?
Okay. Anything else I can do for you while I'm out? Shopping, a trip to the laundromat?
Just take care of yourself.
The woman was doing something with a pair of needles that couldn't be described as knitting. She was a cheery old soul, the kind you'd walk across the street to avoid. Oh, hi.
Hello, my handsome friend.
What do you make of this gem?
Very nice, chérie. A present for your girlfriend?
She's not my girlfriend.
Nonsense. You and her were made for each other.
Does this powder mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't.
See you later.
That's right, monsieur. You will.
It was Rosso's sidekick, Sergeant Moo. Excuse me,
What do you want now?
have you heard of a man called Marquet?
Yes. He used to be known as the Mole of Montmartre. I heard he's been hospitalized, probably by one of his rivals.
Which hospital was Marquet taken to?
The Hagenmeyer Clinic. In the Avenue des Hérissons.
Why was Marquet known as the Mole of Montmartre?
Because he lived in Montmartre, I suppose.
Yeah, but why the mole?
I don't know. Maybe he ruined people's lawns.
I'd like to report an assault.
Yes, monsieur? Where is the victim?
I'm the victim. I've been harassed by a pair of thugs.
I see. And where did this alleged assault take place?
Outside the Hotel Ubu. They stopped me as I was leaving and went through my pockets.
Could you describe the suspects, monsieur?
One looked like a gorilla, and the other looked like a weasel. Their names are Flap and Guido.
Bon. I'll get them this time.
What are you going to do about Flap and Guido, Sergeant?
I'm going to bust them, monsieur. For years I have been hoping to pin something on that pair. Now's my chance. I'll show them. And the inspector.
Thanks, Sergeant. Thanks for taking me seriously.
I'm only doing my duty, monsieur.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you, Sergeant?
That's a double-line Swedish with a crosshatch Bergman strike strip. Now, that's unusual. Pre-war Anderson hinging.
Really?
I haven't seen a reinforced Anderson outside of a private collection.
It's rare, then?
In this part of the world, yes. There are only 3 places these are made. Taiwan, Manila, and Slough.
Does the name Merlin mean anything to you, Sergeant?
Nothing, monsieur.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Is Rosso here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur. It's Stobart, monsieur. He insists on talking to you again.
Thank you, Moo. How may I help you, Doctor?
Ever heard of a guy called Marquet? Jacques Marquet?
Marquet. I know the name well. He has a record for suspected blackmail, kidnapping, arson, and art theft.
An all-rounder, huh? How come he's on the loose?
His bravado is matched only by the courtroom skills of his attorney.
Have you heard of Professor Pegram, the archaeologist?
Molly Pegram, the second son of Lord Barclay Pegram.
I don't know. I only read about him in a magazine.
So much for the efficacy of rehabilitation. What has he done this time?
He made an important archaeological find in Ireland. Do you know Pegram well?
I have connections with the family, but I wouldn't say I knew him at all.
Is his name really Molly?
Of course not. That was the nickname he was given at school. All his friends and acquaintances know him as Molly.
Do you know a pair of thugs called Flap and Guido?
I have known those two since they graduated from special school. Flap is a nasty piece of work, but Guido is the real brains of the partnership. Where did you hear of them?
I met them out front of the Hotel Ubu. Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
No, monsieur. I suggest you ask Sergeant Moo about that. God only knows why, but he collects matchbooks. He claims it is a hobby.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
You already asked me that. I told you. No.
Does the name Thomas Merlin mean anything to you?
No, monsieur, nothing.
It's another one of the assumed names used by the killer.
Ah, the famous killer clown case.
Yeah. You might have forgotten all about it, but I still aim to find that guy. Does the name Thomas Merlin mean anything to you?
No, monsieur.
What do you make of this, Inspector?
Astounding. Where did you come by a stone like that?
I was given it by a man in a bar in Ireland. Do you recognize the gem?
It is unfamiliar to me. If such a jewel had been stolen, I would know it for sure.
Would you like to see the gem again?
No, thank you.
What do you make of this white powder, Rosso?
It is plaster.
Say, you're good. So long, Inspector. It was a public telephone. It's George. I've tracked down that guy Marquet.
That's great news.
Yeah, if I get to see him, I'll let you know.
Okay, thanks.
The old building managed to retain some of its original grandeur, but the modern additions looked like a baseball cap on a statue of a medieval saint. There was no sign of the crew of the ambulance. I felt a little guilty as I tried the door, like I was about to rob a grave. I gripped the handle with an involuntary tremble in my hand and pulled. The door was locked. The young man's face was full of eagerness and enthusiasm. I figured he was fresh from college. Hi, my name's George Stobart.
Pleased to meet you, sir.
Call me George if you like.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's my name.
My name's Benoit, but everyone calls me Bunny.
Bunny.
That's right. I used to have this cute habit when I was a kid.
Keep it to yourself, Benoit. Do you know anything about a patient named Marquet?
And no, sir, I don't know much about any of the patients.
I've never met a doctor who admits that he's only human.
I'm only a trainee, sir. I'm sure I'll get the hang of things.
What does this tool suggest to you?
Isn't that used to snap the patient's ribs when exploring the abdomen?
I hope not. Does this false nose mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't.
What does this tissue mean to you?
Is that a nasal discharge, sir?
No, it's grease paint. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur. I've never seen him before.
Shake my hand, Benoit.
I don't think that's a good idea, sir.
How come?
Dermatitis.
I don't have dermatitis.
I do.
I was about to ask him to shake my hand when I remembered his skin complaint. Have you ever heard of the Club Alamet?
No, sir.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Merlin?
No, sir.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
Not me, sir.
Do you know what this white powder is?
No, sir.
See you later.
Right.
The woman managed to look overworked and hassled, though she didn't appear to be doing anything. Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
Is this the Hagenmeyer Clinic?
That's correct.
I thought I was in a garden center.
Oh, the plans. They were my idea. A little greenery to evoke the spirit of nature. How may I help you?
Has Marquet been visited by a man in a clown costume?
Oh, no.
You haven't seen a man in disguise?
Well, there's Theodore the bear. He comes every Thursday to entertain the children. Personally, I think he scares them half to death in that crummy old bear suit. If I was stuck on my back with tubes in every orifice, he's the last person I'd want to see.
Has Marquet had a visit from a pair of gangsters?
I should hope not. Can you describe them?
A thin guy who looks like a weasel and his friend, the gorilla.
Sounds as if they escaped from a zoo.
I'm here to see Jacques Marquet.
Oh, yes. Are you related to our client, sir?
Yeah, I'm his, long-lost brother.
A brother half his age with a different name and an American accent.
Yeah, people always say that. I blame Mom. We were separated at an early age, after a mix-up in the nursery at the Oakland shopping mall.
I've never heard anything so ridiculous in all my life.
I guess not. So, do I get to see Marquet before the funeral?
That attitude will get you nowhere. My instructions were quite clear. No one gets to see Marquet. So unless you can prove you're a relative or a close acquaintance, you're wasting your time here.
What does this tool suggest to you?
Is it a crack detector?
Huh?
Polar explorers use them to poke about in the snow.
No. What does this false nose remind you of?
Oh, it's a clown's nose.
That's right.
Why don't you give me a break and go and play with someone else?
Can you think of any use for this greasy tissue?
I guess you could use it to baste a roast turkey.
Have you seen this man here at the clinic?
No, sir. And I never forget a face.
I'd like to shake you by the hand.
Don't be fresh, young man.
Have you heard of the Club Alamet?
No. It sounds romantic, doesn't it? The kind of place where you get little umbrellas and whelks.
Huh? That's romantic? Look at this ID pass.
So you're Merlin. Marquet's been asking for you.
For me?
Yes. He was shouting your name when they brought him in here. Now, let me see. He was on Ward B12, as I recall. Oh, he's being transferred to... Oh, dear. He's on Ward J2. That's... Nurse Grendel's ward.
What's so bad about Nurse Grendel?
She runs that ward like a South American prison.
Keeping a well-disciplined ward isn't a crime, is it?
Well-disciplined. In the discipline and punishment stakes, she'd whip the butt off the Marquis de Sade. Everything, I mean everything, is done to a strict routine. 6 o'clock, alarm calls. 6:10, bowel movements, and woe betide anyone who doesn't have a result. Those patients of hers are like Pavlova's dogs.
She sounds like a real nightmare.
And then some.
If Nurse Grendel is that bad, how come the authorities tolerate her?
She's like part of the furniture.
Oh, you mean she's been here a long time?
No, I mean there's not a man in this clinic who hasn't sprawled out on her.
I was beginning to get the picture. This woman was jealous, with a big green capital J. How do I find Nurse Grendel's ward?
Down the corridor on the left, turn right at the senior consultant's washroom. Right again at the executive coffee lounge. Bear left past the administrator's sauna. And turn left at the end. That's J2. And good luck.
Look at this ID pass.
Yes, dear, you showed me already.
What does this gem suggest to you?
I advise you not to flash that around. The hospital insurance wouldn't cover it if it was stolen.
Is this plaster any use to you?
I'm allergic to plaster.
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Hey, Benoit.
There's no need to shout. What do you want?
Do you know the nurse on Ward J2?
No, monsieur. This is my first day here. I can't wait to get my hands dirty. I was talking about treating my first patient, of course. I didn't mean I'd get my hands dirty with a nurse.
See you later.
Right.
The guy seemed to be practicing his air of authority. Today, he was working on his withering stare. Hi, my name's George Stovard.
Really? If you wish to make an appointment, see the receptionist. Does this tool mean anything to you?
Sacre bleu! That's exactly what I needed in my last operation.
It is?
I had to improvise with a knitting needle and a couple of corks. If only you'd been on hand at the time, my patient would have given his right arm for it.
Does this tool mean anything to you?
Yes, I really must get one like it myself.
Do you recognize this red nose, sir?
No, I do not. This is a hospital, not a circus ring. We minister to the sick in body, not the sick in mind.
What do you make of this tissue, sir?
Intéressant. I thought I knew the ins and outs of the human body, but this has me beat. If I were you, I'd have this sample analyzed.
Did I show you this tissue?
Yes, you did.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, sir, I do not.
May I have the honor of shaking you by the hand?
You may not. I don't encourage physical contact between my staff.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamat?
No, sir, I have not.
Does the name Thomas Merlin mean anything to you?
No, it does not.
Look at this, Doc. It's a genuine medieval type gemstone.
Yes, so I see. Remarkable.
Does this white powder mean anything to you?
No, sir, I do not pretend to know the pharmacist's job.
Thanks for your help. As I turned the corner, I saw the source of the hellish noise which echoed through the corridors. It was an industrial polishing machine with an odd-looking guy in tow. It was a classic example of functionalism, like an early Soviet spacecraft. I almost expected to see a dog or a monkey leap out. I wasn't in the mood for shining floors. He looked blissfully happy, for no apparent reason. Hello.
What's that?
I said hello.
Oh, hiya.
I'd like to talk to you for a minute.
That's what I thought you said. Don't look so down in the mouth. No matter how bad things seem, I never let life get on top of me.
Oh, yeah? What's your secret?
Why, it's easy. All you have to do is smile and whistle this little tune.
You know what? If you start whistling, I'll bust you in the teeth.
It's a deal.
Have you seen any unsavory characters lurking about in the corridors?
No, sir, I haven't. But I've got nothing to worry about. What's that, Mr. Shiny? You'd take good care of the rascals, I'll bet you would. With a friend like him, I've no fear of oppressors.
It must be a great comfort.
He is.
Would Mr. Shiny be your polishing machine by any chance?
Please, don't call him that. He's more of a friend than a machine. I've had Mr. Shiny for 3 years, and he's never let me down once.
How come you got so attached to a polishing machine?
I asked you not to call him that. He's got a name, you know.
Yeah, Mr. Shiny. It's just that...
You think it's odd, don't you?
No,
I don't mind. The rest of the staff think I'm twisted. I heard them snorking behind me back when I gave Mr. Shiny his weekly pull-through.
Whatever you've got with this metal mop-foot is probably a fine and noble thing.
It is. Say, it's not every day I meet someone as crazy as me.
Do you know where I'd find a patient called Marquet?
No, I'm not allowed on the wards with Mr. Shiny.
Do you know a nurse called Grendel?
Sure I do.
Is she on duty today?
Yeah. End of the corridor, Ward J2.
Would this tool be any use to you?
No, sir. Mr. Shiny has no user-serviceable parts. Whatever that means.
Take a look at this red nose.
Are you a policeman?
No, this is a clown's nose, not a policeman's. Did I show you this nose, Sam?
Yeah, you did. It's a real humdinger, I think.
What does this tissue suggest to you?
You have a cold. What you need is vitamin C and a side order of machine oil.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Who is it?
That's what I'm asking you. Have you seen him before?
How should I know? You haven't told me who he is.
Take a look at the photo.
Yeah, okay.
Now, have you seen him before?
No,
Would you like to shake my hand?
not until I'm washed, if you don't mind, sir. You can pick up all kinds of things in a hospital.
Like nurses, right?
No, sir. Bugs and germs and fungal infections.
Do you recognize this matchbook?
You should never ever play with matches.
I know that, but
People get hurt when they do.
sure.
You end up in hospital like the burger lady. She was so burned up they didn't know whether to use bandages or onions.
Do you recognize this pass?
No, I don't. Should I?
No, but I wondered if you'd seen a stranger flashing it about.
No, sir. But if I had, Mr. Shiny would take care of him.
What do you think of this, Sam?
Oh, boy. What is it?
A priceless gemstone, found in a medieval castle in Ireland. Get me into Marquet's ward, and it's yours.
I don't wear jewellery.
If this gem was yours, you'd be able to buy 100 Mr. Shinies.
Don't be silly. There's only one Mr. Shiny.
Do you recognize this powder?
Is that dandruff?
No way.
It sure looks like dandruff.
It's plaster.
Ugh.
Don't you want this gem, Sam?
I'm quite happy without it, thanks.
See you later.
Yeah, take care now.
The door didn't have a sign or label or any kind of identification.
Hey now, you can't go in there.
How come?
I'm responsible for the contents of that cupboard. Hey, I asked you not to go in there.
I know, but I'm curious.
Oh no, I'm responsible for that cupboard and the contents.
Okay.
Hey,
Okay. It was a life-sized marble figure of a guy in robes. The sculptor had tried to give him a look of paternal authority and concern. In my mind, he looked just plain constipated. There was no way I could improve on the sculpture with the janitor watching me. I guess the water cooler was for the use of people lost in the corridors. Maybe the face of the unaccountably happy domestic had made me unduly suspicious. I mean, I knew it was only my imagination, but the water tasted, well, peculiar.
Oui, monsieur.
Is this Ward J2?
It is, but you're not supposed to be here. We have strict rules about visiting hours.
Can't you make an exception? I've come all the way from California.
You must speak to the doctor.
I can't wait that long. What if he snuffs it?
You can't talk like that here. This is a hospital. You will have to leave.
Do you have any clowns on the ward?
Why, yes, we do. A professional clown.
I'll bet he lightens the place up.
Hardly. Monsieur Boissy has been in a coma for the last 3 months.
What's wrong with Boissy?
He was involved in a very nasty accident. A silly stunt involving a unicycle. His current condition is due to post-traumatic shock. It's unlikely he'll ever perform as a clown again.
It's an ill wind that blows nobody any good. Do you have a patient named Marquet on this ward?
Oui, monsieur. He is in the private room at the end of the ward. He has been placed in strict isolation.
You can tell me how my brother is, can't you?
Of course, monsieur. What is his name?
Jacques Marquet.
Let me see. He's satisfactory.
I was told he was dying.
Well, he is, but the doctor described his condition as satisfactory. That's quite an improvement on yesterday.
Do you know who paid for Marquet's room?
No, of course I don't.
Preferential treatment like that must cost an arm and a leg.
That's not my concern, monsieur.
Does this tool mean anything to you?
I don't recognize it.
Do you recognize this red nose?
Oh dear, I don't think he'll be needing that again.
Who?
Monsieur Boissy, the comatose clown.
Do you recognize this tissue?
No, I don't. It looks like a chronic health risk to me.
Well, I've been carrying it around for days and I'm okay. My pocket's getting a little soggy. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I don't.
Would you like to shake hands with me?
Well...
No, it's okay. Forget it. I didn't really want to use it on her anyway. Does this mean anything to you?
The Club Alamut? I've never heard of it.
Do you know Merlin of Gruber Electronics?
No, I don't.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
It's beautiful, but I've never seen it before.
Is this plaster any use to you?
No, it isn't.
Thank you, nurse.
You may come back at visiting time, monsieur.
Thanks. When is that?
The second Tuesday of each month.
The connector in the socket supplied electricity to the polishing machine. As I tugged the plug out of the socket, the polishing machine coughed, spluttered, and died.
Mr. Shiny, what's wrong, pal?
Dr. Stobart at your service. I was about to open the cupboard when I heard the janitor returning.
Hello.
Oh, hi! No whistling, right?
Right. What's the problem with Nurse Grendel?
She's uptight and twisted on account of a broken heart.
Oh, that's too bad. I thought she was just plain bad-tempered.
That also. By the way, sir, I wouldn't stand too close to Mr. Shiny's grease valve. If he has an emission, it'll take the shine clean off your shoes. Say, nice sneakers.
Thanks. Who broke the nurse's heart? Was it you?
Oh, no. Talk to a woman, I wouldn't know where to start. My analyst says I'm socially inept.
Some analyst? Weren't you offended?
Not me. It's a comfort to have it made official.
You shouldn't take any notice of him.
Everyone shines in their own way.
Yeah, I shine floors.
See you later.
Yeah, take care now.
Good afternoon, Doctor.
Oh, hi. Is this Ward J2?
Yes, sir. The patients are ready for your inspection, Doctor.
Thank you, nurse. Well, who's first?
Monsieur Croquet in bed 2.
What's his problem?
He's been complaining of loss of consciousness. You'll need this, Doctor.
She gave me a long, narrow metal box and a stunning smile. Thanks. Hi, I'm Dr. Stobart.
Hello, Doctor.
The nurse told me you keep losing consciousness.
That's right. I've had the problem as long as I can remember. It's a real out-of-body experience. Like death, but not so conclusive.
I see. How long does it last?
Just a fraction of a second, and then I recover.
I might not have been a doctor, but I was formulating a diagnosis all the same. This guy was nuts. I know exactly what you mean. It's known in the medical field as blinking.
Is it serious?
Of course it isn't serious. It's perfectly natural.
But just think, 2 seconds every minute. Why, that's almost half an hour every day. 2 weeks out of every year spent in total darkness.
I don't have time to listen to this baloney. Which bed is Marquet in?
He's round the corner, in solitary.
What's the matter with him?
I don't know, but the men who brought him in were wearing masks and rubber gloves. Hey, you're a doctor. How come you don't know?
We doctors don't know everything.
Then how come you act like you do?
Has Marquet had any visitors?
Nah, neither have I. That's the worst thing about being in hospital. You feel like the rest of the world has abandoned you.
Well, you know how it is. Life goes on.
Thanks for those comforting words.
Well, goodbye and good luck.
Thanks, Doc.
The guy was sick. His face was the same shade of gray as the pillow beneath his head. I wondered whether I ought to call the nurse. Maybe check him out for breathing. According to the chart, this guy was called Croquet. The graph showed a steady decline in his pulse rate and an increase in his blood pressure. It kind of shook me to see this guy's life reduced to a few jagged lines. The name on the chart was Boissy. The poor guy's temperature had been up and down like a white-knuckle ride. No wonder he looked so sick. Now, I was no doctor, but this guy looked dead to me. The nurse was stunningly beautiful. The guys on this ward sure were lucky to be in her care.
Could you take a look at the client in bed number 3 now? His name is Eric Sopmarsh.
What's his problem?
He's delirious. He just now came out of theater. He's recovering from major surgery.
I'll have him up and about before you can say, Lazarus, get out of your bed and walk. Hello? Anybody home?
Who are you?
My name is Dr. Stobart, and I'm here to steer you down the rocky road to recovery.
Dr. Monroe said there was no cure for what I've got.
Your problem is you stayed in bed too long.
Are you sure you're a qualified doctor?
You better believe it. What can you tell me about Marquet?
He's the man in the private room, isn't he? That room was mine before I was tossed out like a common squatter.
Do you know what's wrong with Marquet?
They won't even say what's wrong with me. Tell me, Doctor, what's your opinion?
It's too early to say.
But I've been here for 3 months.
What's your impression of Nurse Grendel?
She's a very efficient young woman.
Efficient? You make her sound like a vacuum cleaner.
I've no complaints.
The woman in reception described Nurse Grendel as a monster.
Well, that's simply not true. She's quite strict, but that's her job, isn't it? You've got to have discipline in a place like this.
Do you know what this tool is used for?
I'd rather not, Doctor. Ignorance is bliss, as they say.
Do you recognize this red nose?
Doesn't that belong to Boissy?
No. I found it in a sewer.
He's a clown, you know. You wouldn't think so to look at him now, would you?
Have you any idea what this is?
No, Doctor. I wouldn't even like to guess.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, Doctor. Who is it?
A cold-blooded killer.
Really? He's a dead ringer for my bank manager. Of course, Mr. Soames hasn't got a scar, and he doesn't come from the Middle East. His hair's a lot grayer, too. Otherwise, it's just like him.
Remarkable. I thought about giving him an electric shock, but I just couldn't do that to a sick guy. Have you ever heard of the Club Alamut?
I'm not really a nightclub man, Doctor. A game of whist and a glass of ginger wine is about my limit.
Have you heard of a guy called Merlin?
No, Doctor.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
No, Doctor. Is this some kind of test?
If it was, you would have failed. Do you know what this is?
It looks like plaster.
How did you know that?
I'm a plasterer.
I'm going to take your blood pressure.
Why?
I'm a doctor. It's my job. See you later. This guy didn't look sick to me. He didn't have spots or stitches, and he certainly didn't have a fever. The name on the chart was Sopmarsh. His temperature was normal, with little fluctuation either way.
Doctor?
What is it now, nurse?
Number 2 again. He won't tell me what he wants. He says he'll only talk to a man.
Do I have to? That guy's nuts.
Doctor, I'm surprised at you. There's no way to talk about our clients.
Okay, I'll see him. But I'm telling you, he's a hypochondriac. Hello again. Do you know what this tool is used for?
Eye surgery.
That's a dumb thing to say. It's not sharp enough. Do you recognize this red nose?
Nah, I don't.
Have you any idea what this is?
Please, take it away before I throw up.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Nah, Doctor. Who is it?
A cold-blooded killer.
One of your colleagues?
No, he really is a murderer.
I've never seen him before.
I thought about giving him an electric shock, but I just couldn't do that to a sick guy. Have you ever heard of the Club Alamut?
Nah, I haven't.
Have you heard of a guy called Merlin?
No, Doctor.
Does this gem mean anything to you?
No, Doctor.
Do you know what this is?
Is it self-raising flour?
No. Do you know what this piece of equipment is called?
No, I don't.
Well, goodbye and good luck.
Thanks, Doc.
Thank you, nurse.
Au revoir, monsieur.
Doctor,
What is it?
you haven't taken my blood pressure.
Seems fine to me.
You're not doing it right.
Of course I am.
No, you're not. Dr. Monroe never did it like that.
I can't take a satisfactory reading while you're excited like this. I'll come back later.
Oh, Doctor,
What now?
you didn't finish taking my blood pressure.
Okay, let's try again.
You don't have the first idea what you're doing, do you?
I'll come back when you've recovered your manners.
You haven't finished taking my blood pressure.
Will you keep quiet? You're disturbing the other patients.
I'll keep quiet when you've taken my blood pressure properly.
I have to see Jacques Marquet first.
How come he gets preferential treatment? It's because he's got money, isn't it?
It's not like that. I'll come back when you've dealt with that chip on your shoulder. Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
I'd like to return this device.
Not to me, you don't. I don't touch medical equipment, especially if you've used it on sick people.
Thanks for your help, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Stop! Come here!
What's the problem, Gramps?
You must be the new boy.
Yeah, I must be.
Well, stop wandering about and make yourself useful. Bernie, come here, boy. This is Benoit, my nephew. Can I trust you to look after him?
Do your own babysitting, Gramps. Who do you think you are, anyhow?
I am Felix Hagenmeyer.
And may I say what an honor it is to meet you in person, sir. You are on my medical wall of fame. Right up there with Pasteur and Leary. I look on it as a privilege, no, an honor, to look after your nephew, sir.
He is fresh out of medical school. It will open his eyes to see a real doctor on the job.
I'll bet.
Show him around. Let him see some real suffering.
Look what Nurse Grendel gave me, sir.
Ah, yes, very good. I'm glad to see you're carrying it with you. It reassures the public to see the medical profession using traditional archaic tools.
So long, Hagenmeyer.
Where do you think you're slipping off to? Get back to work immediately.
Look what Nurse Grendel gave me, sir.
Yes, yes. You told me.
So long, Hagenmeyer. Does this gem mean anything to you?
It's beautiful, but I've never seen it before.
What is this device?
It's for taking the patient's blood pressure, Doctor.
Do you want this,
Device for measuring blood pressure?
Yeah, do you want it back?
No, thank you.
Thank you, nurse.
Au revoir, monsieur.
Hey, Benoit.
There's no need to shout. What do you want?
Does this false nose mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't. Do we have to wear them while on duty?
No, we don't. Here, take this pressure gauge.
Thank you, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Well, keep it safe until I think of something. Are you ready with that pressure gauge?
Primed and ready to pump, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
Use it on Nurse Grendel.
Huh?
Go on, she'll enjoy it.
Well, okay.
Dr. Stobart?
Yeah?
I would appreciate it if you saved your jokes for the intern's restroom. This is a hospital ward, not a cabaret.
Oh, lighten up.
I heard that. Any more nonsense and I shall report you to Dr. Hagenmeyer.
Hey, Benoit.
Yes, sir?
Do you still have that gauge I gave you?
Oh, yes. What do you want me to do with it?
Use it on Rene Croquet.
Okay.
Hey, Benoit.
Yes, sir?
Do you still have that gauge I gave you?
Oh, yes. What do you want me to do with it?
Use it on Eric Sopmarsh.
Okay.
It was a life-sized marble figure of a guy in robes. The sculptor had tried to give him a look of paternal authority and concern. In my mind, he looked just plain constipated. He sat like a statue of a sack of potatoes, but the cop's eyes were as watchful as a hawk's.
I'm Dr. Stobart.
Bonjour, docteur.
Have you heard of a guy called Marquet?
He's in quarantine, doc, right behind this here door.
Marquet is just the man I wanted to see.
I wouldn't go in there if I was you. He has anthrax.
I have to visit my patient.
What for?
Routine. I have to check he's still breathing.
What if he's not?
I'll sign the certificate and register his bed as vacant.
That's a cold and distant attitude to death.
Well, I've been institutionalized to the point of godlike aloofness.
The white coat suits you.
Thanks. Have you seen any suspicious characters on the ward?
Yeah, I have.
A gorilla and a weasel?
No, this was a tatty old bear.
How was the bear acting suspiciously?
Well,
He was wearing a homburg.
Is that against the law?
No, but it's pretty weird for a bear.
Don't you think it's possible that the bear was a man in disguise?
Well, obviously, I'm not completely stupid. But who would go to the bother of disguising himself as a bear? It's not as if he'd blend in with the surroundings. I checked with base to see if any bears had been reported missing from the zoo or a traveling circus. They told me to sit tight until reinforcements arrive. I guess they're right. I'd be stupid to tackle a bear single-handed.
What do you think this tool is used for?
Branding mice without bending down.
Do you recognize this red nose?
Don't get cute with me.
What does this tissue suggest to you?
It looks as if it has been used to wipe Satan's bottom.
I hate to say it, but you could be right. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, I have never seen him before.
Would you like to shake hands?
What for?
As a gesture of goodwill.
On reflection, no.
Have you ever heard of the Club Alamet?
No. It sounds Middle Eastern.
Are you Thomas Merlin of Gruber Electronics?
No.
Then you won't be needing this. Do you recognize this gem?
It isn't an emerald, is it?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks. Can you think of any sensible use for this plaster?
Sensible? No. Puerile? Yes. But you've probably thought of those already.
Catch you later, officer.
Au revoir, Doc. If you see that bear, kick him in the nuts.
Hey, Benoit.
Yes, sir?
Do you know anything about anthrax, Bunny?
But not much, sir. I thought it was virtually wiped out.
Maybe you'd like to put that to a practical test.
Oh, no, sir. Definitely not, sir. Most emphatically not, sir.
I thought so. Underneath that starched waiter's uniform, you are nothing but a worm.
I really must object, sir.
Why don't you run along to Uncle Felix, huh? Tell him you don't mind attending to his patients, just as long as they're only slightly ill. Meanwhile, poor Marquet is up to his neck in some damn cow disease.
Marquet? He doesn't have anthrax. I heard Uncle Felix discussing his case.
It was a test, Benoit, and you failed it. Now, do try to look more like a man who holds people's lives in his hands.
I'll try, sir, but I warn you, I'm hopeless at acting.
Do you still have that gauge I gave you?
Ah, yes. What do you want me to do with it?
Use it on Eric Sopmarsh.
Okay.
So, what precautions do you intend to take to prevent the spread of anthrax?
My first step will be to burn the bodies.
Burn the bodies?
It won't be easy, I know, but I can do it. Just give me a chance, Doctor. Let me burn the patients.
I don't think that would be a good idea, Nurse Grendel.
I'm sorry, Doctor, but the other staff put me up to this. It's because you're new, you see. Traditional hospital humor.
Hilarious. So then Marquet hasn't got anthrax?
No, sir.
Thank you, nurse.
Au revoir, monsieur.
Hello again.
Bonjour.
I've got some good news for you.
They've shot the bear?
You'll be pleased to know Marquet hasn't got anthrax.
I knew that. It was my idea in the first place.
Catch you later, officer.
Au revoir, Doc. Rather you than me, pal.
Another graph, another life. On the top of the chart was his name, Jacques Marquet. I didn't need to be a doctor to read the graphs. Marquet was dying. Marquet was either peacefully sleeping or placidly dead. Rousing him in the latter case would take a miracle. Marquet's slim hold on life was being measured, monitored, and maintained by the machinery on the rack. The machine was far too complex for me to understand. The bottles were full of liquid, with a little trail of bubbles rising to the surface. I figured Marquet's life depended on those bottles, so I decided not to disturb them. Marquet?
Yes, I am Marquet. I've been expecting you.
You have?
Well, what are you waiting for? Get it over with.
I just want to know what I should do with the gem.
The Lamar gem.
Yeah, right here in my pocket.
I thought you were one of the assassins.
Not me. I never inhaled.
So, you were sent in my place?
Yeah. You could hardly make the trip to Ireland in your condition. What should I do with the gem?
Deliver it to the Grand Master quickly. Tell him that I have found the tripod right here in Paris.
What, you have it?
Not yet, but it's being taken care of. I hired a couple of stooges with a flair for petty crime.
Would that be Flap and Guido by any chance?
You know them?
We've met. What about the Hashashin?
He's more likely to have followed Klausner. He'll stop at nothing to prevent the reforging of the sword.
And that's bad, is it?
As for Klausner, he has gone off to Syria on a wild goose chase.
They have geese in Syria?
He has a theory about the location of the...
That's enough excitement for one day, Monsieur Marquet. What are you doing here?
Talking to this patient, of course.
Monsieur Marquet is my patient. Herr Hagenmeier was to hear that.
Okay, I'm going. I'd learned all I could from Marquet anyhow.
There you are, sir. I was just coming to look for you. I finished with your pressure gauge.
Thanks, Bunny.
What's that noise? It sounds as if someone's having a cardiac arrest.
It's all right. The doctor's in there with him.
Are you sure he was a doctor?
Oui, monsieur. He showed me his ID. It was Dr. Braille.
There's no Dr. Braille working here.
He's an imposter! The door's locked. Help me, officer.
Stand back, monsieur.
I found Jacques Marquet.
Did he talk?
Yeah, he talked. For the very last time.
He's dead.
Yeah, killed in cold blood by a bogus doctor.
That's despicable. What kind of guy would pass himself off as a doctor and take advantage of a dying man? Was it Khan?
No, I don't know who he was, but it certainly wasn't Khan. He got away, out the window. Have you ever heard of the Hashiashin?
No.
Marquet said that they were his biggest enemy.
His biggest enemy was the bogus doctor.
Don't remind me. That guy was evil. He had wild, staring eyes like a dead fish. I'll never trust a doctor again. Do you think the assassin was responsible for killing Marquet?
I don't think so. He could have finished him off the first time. Besides, Marquet would have recognized him.
He was pumped to the gills with sedatives. He wouldn't have recognized the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse unless they'd introduced themselves. Can you think of any use for this?
That's a thing for measuring blood pressure, isn't it? What are you doing with that?
I picked it up in the hospital. It could be useful.
You ought to take it back. Don't you feel guilty?
No. I guess I'd better go back and talk to that weirdo.
Which one, Rousseau or Sergeant Mou? Oh, but you're referring to Andre.
I'll let you work it out. Oh, hi.
Hello, my handsome friend.
What does this apparatus mean to you?
The last time I saw one of those, I was about to go to the operating theater. The doctor told me there was nothing to worry about. I laughed in his face.
How come?
I can see the future, remember?
What does this apparatus mean to you?
Don't remind me.
See you later.
That's right, monsieur. You will.
You have left it very late, monsieur.
Late for what?
Anything? I am closing the museum soon. You wouldn't like to get locked in. I can tell you. Not in this gallery.
Why not?
It is haunted, monsieur.
You don't believe in ghosts, surely.
Oh, yes, I do. 7 years ago, a lad managed to hide in here. He'd made a bet with his friends, I suppose. When I found him in the morning, he was cold as ice and stiff as a board.
Well, what was the cause of death?
They said it was a brain tumor. But on his face was a look of stark, desperate terror such as I have never seen before.
Scary. I found this gem at a medieval site in Ireland.
That means nothing to me, monsieur.
How did you manage to get this job?
I had the right qualifications, a military manner, squeaky shoes, and an irrational hatred of children.
Did I show you this gem?
Yes, you did.
Does this white powder mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't.
Does this apparatus mean anything to you?
No, monsieur.
Thanks for your help. He was a thin-faced, pallid guy with a questionable taste in outlandish clothes. My mother used to dress like that. I beg your pardon. Are you André Lobineau?
That's me. You want my autograph?
No, I was told you may be able to help me.
Help?
My name is George Stobart. I'd like your professional opinion.
Well, okay, shoot.
I'd like your opinion on a medieval manuscript.
Vraiment? Do you have it with you?
No, it's too fragile. And besides, there are certain people who'd stop at nothing to get their hands on it.
Intriguing. Do you have a copy of the text?
There isn't much, only a few Latin phrases. I was kind of hoping you'd help decipher the pictures.
Without seeing the manuscript, that's a tall order.
Just tell me one thing. What does the image of two men riding on the same horse suggest to you?
The Knights Templar. Does the Templar seal appear on this manuscript? I'd love to see that for myself.
Have you ever heard of the Hashashin?
Why, yes, it was a radical Muslim sect whose name became synonymous with murder. It was formed in 11th century Persia, shortly before the Crusades.
At roughly the same time as the Templars.
Yes, they gave a new word to our language, Assassini, the assassins.
How did the assassins get their name?
From the legend surrounding the secrets of their initiation rites. A young man who sought to join the sect was given hashish until he drifted into dreams. He awoke to find himself in a fabulous garden with everything he could wish for. The freshest water, the most delicious food, the choicest hash, and the most delectable women imaginable.
Cool. Do you have the address?
I haven't finished the story. There was a price to pay for this taste of paradise.
Wouldn't you just know it?
The young man would wake the next day to find himself back in the real world. He was told that he'd been given a glimpse of the heaven reserved for holy martyrs. A heaven he would enjoy for eternity if he was willing to join the Hashashin.
How did the assassins operate?
Well, as I explained, the new recruits would be only too willing to die for the cause. They'd be instructed in the use of the dagger, poisons, and disguise. Then the Grand Master of the sect would name an enemy of Allah.
And they'd stop at nothing to eliminate that enemy.
You got it. They were fearless and deadly.
Does the cult of the assassins still exist?
Take a look around at the world today. You tell me.
Does the name Montfauçon mean anything to you?
Sure. It was the most grisly spectacle in Paris until the Revolution.
A public toilet?
Montfauçon was the place of execution for many thousands. A dark temple of death, with row upon row of arches, each one framing a grim exhibit. Scores of rotting corpses swung on creaking rope, while the crows devoured their flesh.
That explains the image of the hanged man. I found a reference to Montfauçon in Ireland, in a village called Lochmarn.
Lochmarn? That's where Pegram was digging.
That's right. He'd left the excavation before I arrived. Do you know Pegram well?
Not really. I met him at a conference. I would have liked to talk to him in depth, but I didn't have time.
When was this?
Oh, back in the summer, July, I think.
The second week of July?
Maybe. Yes, it was, just before Bastille Day.
So Pegram was in Paris at the same time as the other victims.
Pardon? Victims of what?
Nothing. Just thinking aloud. Where was the site of Montfauçon?
To the northeast, near the Canal Saint-Martin, but there's nothing there now. The old gibbet was torn down during the Revolution.
What can you tell me about Philippe le Bel?
He was responsible for the extermination of the Knights Templar.
I know that, but why was Philip so hot to get rid of them?
Mostly because he wanted to get his hands on their treasure. He had an enormous debt and a lifelong war with England to fund. The trouble was, the Templars were a highly respected holy order.
If the Templars were so powerful, how did this Philippe dude wipe them out?
By underhanded, dishonorable means, of course. The Pope was Clement V, a Frenchman.
French, huh? Handy for Philippe.
Fate had nothing to do with it. He was Philippe's puppet, planted to further his political ambitions. Philippe wanted the wealth of the Templars and used Clement to get it.
So what was Philippe's plan? What happened?
Sealed orders were sent out all over France, not to be opened until the appointed day. That day was Friday, July 13th. That's the origin of our superstition regarding that date. At dawn, throughout the whole of France, the Templars were arrested. It was the biggest bust in the history of the world.
What happened to the Templars after their arrest?
Philippe was out for blood, so he handed the Templars over to the Inquisition. Not surprisingly, they confessed to a sensational and sordid list of blasphemies.
Like what?
Oh, the sort of things you read about in the gutter press. Devil worship, lewd sexual practices, spitting on the Holy Cross, that kind of thing.
Well, that must have given their lawyers some headaches.
Whether or not the accusations were true, this was not good publicity. Most of the charges were probably cooked up, but so were the Templars, literally. Hundreds of them were found guilty of heresy and flame-grilled at the stake. They died protesting their innocence.
But surely Philippe had no proof of his charges against the Templars.
A man will admit anything under torture. The Inquisition fabricated some nonsensical demon called Baphomet, and then suggested to the victims that this was what they worshipped.
But they didn't have to agree.
The records show a Templar coming to trial with both feet burnt off. Fragments of flesh and charred bone falling from the stumps. What would you not admit to stop such torment?
So there was no truth at all in the Baphomet accusations?
Not a shred. Almost every victim described the idol differently. No, Baphomet never existed outside the sick minds of the Inquisitors.
So Philippe stole the Templars' riches, huh?
Oh no, they weren't stupid. The king's troops marched first on the temple in Paris, then to the Templar home port at La Rochelle. There was no trace of the treasure, and the fleet of the Knights Templar had set sail.
Can you tell me anything about the Knights Templar?
I sure can, Georgie. Soldiers, diplomats, mercenaries, monks, bankers, you name it, the Templars fit the bill. The greatest fighting force in Christendom, the militia of Christ.
Jeez. How did the Templars get their name?
From the building in which they set up their headquarters. The King of Jerusalem gave them part of a mosque on the Temple Mount. It was said to have been the site of the original Temple of Solomon. The order became known first as the Knights of the Temple, and later as the Knights Templar.
You're a mine of information, Andre.
Glad to be of help, Georgie.
How come the Templars became so wealthy?
There was a constant stream of new recruits to their ranks, many from noble families. They were required to swear a sacred oath of poverty, chastity, and obedience. So their money, goods, and lands were donated to the order. The Templars soon held land in France, Scotland, England, Spain, most of Europe, in fact. The poor Knights of Christ became the wealthiest power in Christendom.
Is it true the treasure of the Knights Templar was never found?
Who knows? So little knowledge of what really happened remains. Or, if it does, the truth has never been made public.
What do you mean by that?
The Templars have attained mythological status, like the King Arthur of the Britons. There are people even now who say the Templars still exist.
Do you think that's likely?
No, not for a minute.
The manuscript is being looked after by a friend.
In Paris?
Yeah, not far from here, in fact.
Well, just give me the address and I'll come round and take a look.
I'm not so sure about that. Maybe I should check with her first.
A female friend?
Yeah, she's a woman. Maybe it was my imagination, but I noticed a predatory look in his eye. Suddenly, this friendly historian had turned into the big bad wolf. This friend who has the manuscript?
The anonymous girlfriend.
She lives at 361 Rue Jarry.
I know it well. I'll drop by. Just as soon as I can.
I think you ought to know that the tripod is going to be stolen.
The Lochman tripod? No.
It's true. I can give you a description of the thieves.
Before the supposed event has taken place?
I heard them planning the raid.
They're wasting their time. The tripod is protected by a state-of-the-art alarm system.
Well, don't say I didn't warn you. Why don't you loan the tripod to me for safekeeping?
Because I'd never see it again.
Well, don't you trust me?
It's not a question of trust, George. That tripod is hundreds of years old and extremely fragile.
I get your point. What do you make of this tool?
Interesting. Where did you get it?
From a dig in Paris.
Vraiment? I didn't realize there were any excavations in progress in the city.
Did I show you this tool?
Yes, you did, though I can't imagine why.
Take a look at this nose, Labinot.
It really doesn't interest me, Georgie.
What does this tissue mean to you?
Nothing.
Does the guy in this photograph look familiar to you?
No.
I'd like to shake you by the hand, Andre.
Not now, Georgie.
Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
Alamut is the name of the place where the Hashashin were based.
Where is it?
Somewhere in what used to be called Persia. I'm not too hot on modern geography, I'm afraid. The most recent map I have shows America as an English colony.
Are you sure you don't know where Alamut is?
Positive.
What do you make of this ID card?
Nothing.
What do you make of this?
It's the biggest gemstone I've ever seen. Where did you get it?
From Professor Pegram's messenger boy.
Did Pegram find this on his dig?
Yeah, the site where this was found was a Templar castle. Do you think it could be part of the Templar treasure?
No, I shouldn't think so.
Did I show you this gem?
Yes, you did.
Do you recognize this white powder, Andre?
No.
Do you have any use for this, Andre?
Shouldn't think so, Georgie.
Thanks for your help, Andre.
You're welcome.
The totem pole looked distinctly out of place in the setting of the museum. It was an ancient Egyptian sarcophagus with a beautifully painted effigy of its owner on the lid.
Don't even think of climbing in there, monsieur. You'll be suffocated.
I always wondered how it felt to be a mummy.
Watch out! You will have that done on top of us!
The case contained the tripod shown on the manuscript. As I reached toward the display case, a shrill piping filled the air. I froze, then tried to get myself together and act nonchalantly.
No, monsieur. No et no.
Okay. High above me was a window. A metal rod attached to the wall was connected to the window.
Attention! Please do not open the window, monsieur.
Don't you think it's kind of stuffy in here?
Better stuffy than dead.
What's the problem? Fumes from car exhausts?
Not just that, monsieur. There's a new burger bar opened up across the street. The Laughing Buffalo.
So what's the problem?
They cook their burgers on a charcoal grill, and the fat falls on the open flame. The amount of organic compound and smoke particles released is astounding. Since they opened, local air pollution has doubled, and it stinks like a funeral pyre. That is why I keep the windows closed. It is closing time, Monsieur Lobineau.
Already, there just aren't enough hours in the day.
More than enough for me. I can't wait to get home and put my feet up.
Eh bien, see you tomorrow.
Good night, Monsieur.
Hey, Guido! Look at this!
Quit fooling around, you moron! Get your ass over here and bring that flashlight. What the... Who's there?
Let's get out of here!
And when I woke up, I was at the police station. Luckily, I managed to persuade Rosso I was innocent.
Poor Georges.
What a mess. I bungled the whole thing.
I don't think so. You made a pretty good job of distracting those two crooks.
Yeah, but the killer got away with the tripod.
No, he didn't. He's not the only one who can dress up in costume.
You mean... it was you who stole the tripod? Oh, hell, Nico. I could have been shot.
Those dogs are more likely to shoot their own feet.
I just wish you'd told me your plans. We're supposed to be in this together. But how come you dressed up like a pantomime cat?
Don't sulk, Georgie, please.
Oh, rats. And don't call me Georgie.
Oh, I really thought you'd be pleased. After all, we've got the tripod. Aren't you going to try putting the gem on the tripod?
I guess so. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
The gem fits perfectly, but what does that prove?
Maybe the tripod has to be in a certain location.
There's nothing on the manuscript to indicate where, though, is there?
Oh, by the way, I had a visit from André Lobineau.
Oh, yeah. I hope you didn't mind me giving him your address.
Not at all. It was lovely to see him again. He was over the moon when I showed him the manuscript. It's not often he gets that excited. He made a sketch of the knight's crest to take back to the museum. I believe he's identified the family who bear that crest.
I sure hope so. Lobineau explained who the Hashashin were.
Yeah?
The cult of the assassins.
Oh, boy!
Have you found out any more about the Knights Templar?
Yes, I have. The guy responsible for their downfall was Philip IV, the King of France, otherwise known as Philippe le Bel.
I've heard of him.
Well, he is known to history as Philippe the Fair, but I doubt if the Templars called him that. I'm sure André will tell you all about him.
What do you think the purpose of this tripod is?
On the manuscript, the gem is shown mounted on top of it.
So, we risked a criminal charge to steal a display stand?
Don't ask me. Maybe it's intended to hold the gem in a specific position.
I have to go.
Already? You only just arrived.
Time and tide wait for no man.
Okay, I'll see you later.
Oh, hi.
Hello, my handsome friend.
Have you seen anyone out here watching Mademoiselle Collard's apartment?
Yes, I have. A strange man, tall and thin as a broomstick. He kept his face hidden, but I saw his eyes peering from evil little slits.
How was he dressed?
A long brown raincoat with a hat.
Or like Humphrey Bogart?
Yes, but he didn't have Bogart's charisma. Besides, this guy looked like he needed a toilet. You never saw Bogart clenching his buttocks like that.
Do you know what this tripod was used for?
I couldn't imagine.
See you later.
That's right, monsieur. You will.
The case was empty. The glass case was intact, but the tripod had been replaced by a sign reading, "Exhibit temporarily removed."
Do you have a fetish about closets, monsieur?
I just love the smell of mothballs, I guess. Hi, Andre.
Hello, Georgie.
What's with the long face?
Haven't you heard? The tripod was stolen.
No kidding.
I just don't get it. So many other treasures, and the thieves choose the tripod.
A modern-day alchemist, perhaps?
Who knows? There's no shortage of crazies in Paris. Hey, I visited Nicole's apartment.
Yeah, she told me you came by.
Ooh, quite a fine Georgie boy. I didn't expect anything quite so sexy.
I hope you're referring to the manuscript.
Oui, of course.
What did you make of the manuscript?
It dates from the time of the Crusades.
We guessed that from the Templar seal.
It's a story and pictures like a modern-day comic book.
What story does the manuscript tell?
I don't know. It was probably produced for the tourist market.
Tourists?
Oh, oui, pilgrims in their thousands on their way to Jerusalem. The tourist trade is nothing new, you know. It's been around for centuries. Ever since Joshua made a packet selling souvenir bricks from the walls of Jericho.
Have you deciphered any of the images on the manuscript?
There's very little I can be sure about. The slang of the bull could be a reference to Mithras.
Who's he?
A Persian god, almost as popular as Christ at one time. The only thing I can be sure of is the knight. He's Spanish.
How can you tell that?
The writing on the shield, the reference to Ave Maria. No self-respecting knight from Northern Europe would have borne a coat of arms like that.
Can you identify the knight's coat of arms?
I already did, Georgie. He's a member of the De Vasconcelos family from the Costa Calida.
Were they famous?
No, they're not mentioned after the 15th century.
Oh.
The spotlight of history moved on. They're probably long dead.
Do you think the manuscript could be the map to the Templar treasure?
Frankly, no. That's too far-fetched. The manuscript is interesting enough and a rare find, but that's all.
Wouldn't it be terrific if it was a map, though? The treasure of the Knights Templar.
A romantic notion, Georgie, but extremely improbable.
Oh, Andre?
Oui?
What would you say if I told you I knew who'd taken the tripod?
I'd call the police and have them arrested.
That's what I thought.
Who was it?
Oh, I don't know, really. It was just a hypothetical question.
That's too bad. If I could get my hands on the thief, I'd wring his neck.
No way was I going to give the tripod back to Labano. Thanks for your help, Andre. You're welcome. Maybe not. The attendant had an air of self-importance and the kind of steely eyes that never seemed to blink. Pardon me.
Oui, monsieur? Oh, it's you. Well, what do you want now? You're not going to try to hide in that closet again, are you?
I hear your tripod was stolen.
Nothing travels faster than bad news. It is true. It happened last night. I always said that alarm was no good.
Do you recognize this tripod?
It is vaguely familiar.
I should think it is.
Very similar to the one which we used to have here at the museum. In fact,
That's what I thought.
but this is obviously a poor copy.
Right. Do you want to borrow this tripod to replace the one which was stolen?
No, thank you. Someone would be bound to notice the deception.
Thanks for your help. Excuse me.
Stop! I did not expect to see you so soon after that unfortunate business at the museum.
Inspector Rosso was completely satisfied with my explanation.
Ah, yes. You were accidentally trapped in an Egyptian sarcophagus.
It could happen to anyone.
Indeed, as could being knocked unconscious by a wooden salmon. What do you want now?
Have you ever heard of the Hashashin, Sergeant?
What was that?
The cult of the assassins.
What are you trying to say, Stobart?
That the clown is a member of that cult.
I see. And what proofs do you have?
Proof? I arrived at my conclusion through logical deduction and...
Pseudo-intellectual people. Leave the investigation of crime to those who know best. The police.
No. Maybe not. Is Rosso here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur. Stobart is here to see you, monsieur.
Did he say what it was about?
No, monsieur.
Very well. How may I help you, Doctor?
Have you heard of the Knights Templar?
Les Templiers? But of course, monsieur. Their fame is widespread throughout France. We haven't forgotten them, unlike the rest of Europe.
It was the King of France who persecuted them, though.
Indeed.
That shook his cool. Underneath his cultured facade, the man was real twitchy. You're obviously a great admirer of the Knights Templar.
They were men of great honor, monsieur. The flower of chivalry.
Not everyone would share your views, Inspector.
Not everyone shares my passion for Bartok.
But if the Templars were as honorable as...
That's enough. I do not wish to hear your uninformed opinions, Stobart.
Why do you get so wound up about the Knights Templar? They've been dead for centuries. I shouldn't have pushed my luck. Maybe his ancestors were Templars. Whatever. I saw the anger flare in his eyes like a distant summer thunderstorm.
The Templars were the first true internationalists. 800 years on, and still the world is fragmented by nationalistic flag-waving fools. You will excuse me.
Excuse me,
What do you want now?
is Rosso here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur. It's Stobart, monsieur. He insists on talking to you again.
Thank you, Moo. How may I help you, Doctor?
Would you like to see the gem again?
No, thank you.
No. Maybe not. So long, Inspector.
By the way, Stobart, I thought you might like to know they found our friend Pigram.
Where did he turn up?
A little village on the Norwegian coast. The fish had made a meal of him, but the police pathologist identified the teeth. Poor Molly. He had such dignity. It's hard to imagine him ending up as fish food.
A typically Parisian sidewalk cafe. Last time I visited one of those, it blew up. I decided I was happy enough right where I was. I once read a list of low-stress jobs. It didn't include police work. Obviously, this guy hadn't read the same list. Excuse me, officer.
And how may I help you?
What do you know about the Knights Templar?
Les Templiers. Only that they were excommunicated in 1312 and hanged in their dozens within this very square.
Boy, what they teach in the police academy these days.
No, monsieur. I read it on that board over there.
Shouldn't you be off directing traffic or something?
You have seen the Parisian traffic, no?
Yeah, so?
I could direct the traffic. The most dangerous, the east side of Rome. Or I can sit here and enjoy the sun, the architecture, and the Sauvignon. Which would you choose?
Yeah, but I'm not a policeman. What happened to duty?
An excellent question, monsieur.
Do you know what this is?
It's a sewer key.
Does it mean anything to you?
Do you belong to some obscure arm of the Masons?
Does this red nose mean anything to you?
Aha! A prosthetic nose. Very significant.
It is?
No, I am just having a little joke.
What do you make of this grease paint stained tissue?
Delightful. Would you like to see some of my used tissues?
Hell no.
Then please put yours away.
Have you seen this man before?
No. Who is it?
I believe him to be an international assassin.
Oh.
Is that all you can say? Oh.
I did wonder if I should say that I believe you to be an international paranoiac, but it didn't seem polite.
Would you like to shake? I stopped myself barely in time. Electrocuting a cop would not have been smart. They'd rebuild the Bastille just so they could throw me in and throw away the key. Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
The pattern looks Middle Eastern. Beyond that, who knows?
Take a look at this.
Ah, an electrician. My TV has been acting up. Could you fix it?
I doubt it. This isn't my ID. Look at this gem. What do you think?
Cut glass.
No, it's not. It's for real.
What kind of madman would go around waving a priceless gem under people's noses?
So either it's glass or I'm mad? I didn't like to think about that for too long. Do you know what this is?
Aha! You Americans with your notorious nose candy. I read Hollywood Wives. I know all about it.
If you tried to sniff this stuff, you'd wall up your nostrils. It's plaster of Paris.
It is. Thank heaven. For one awful moment, I thought I might actually have to arrest somebody. Alors, the paperwork. You have no idea.
I've shown you this plaster, haven't I?
Oui, monsieur.
What do you think of this?
A blood pressure sleeve.
Don't you want to know why I'm carrying it?
No! That would be dangerously similar to making inquiries. I might get a reputation for taking my job seriously.
What do you know about medieval ironmongery? Have a look at this little baby.
A tripod. What is it for?
You mean you don't know?
No, monsieur. Nor do you, I think.
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
There was a small crowd of 5 sightseers. It's a weird thing, but you can take the most intelligent people in the world, put them in their vacation duds, and hey presto, they look like morons. Why is that? I had no desire to talk to the crowd. An architectural echo of the gallows that once used to stand here. The juggler was good. Why he couldn't put that kind of application into getting a real job, I had no idea. Maybe he just liked dressing up like a horse's ass. Hey, you with the balls.
Oui?
What do you know about the Knights Templar?
Le Templier? Ah, the last Grand Master, Jacques Dumoulin, was burnt on an island in the Seine in 1314.
Wow, you're pretty well educated for a juggler.
No, monsieur. I read it on that board over there.
How did you learn to be a juggler?
Juggler? What is this juggler?
It's you. You juggle, that makes you a juggler.
No, I am a jongleur.
A jongler? What's that?
Mon Dieu! A jongleur is an artist, a master of the contragravitic aeroballetic mysteries. In centuries past, the courts of the crowned heads of Europe had the jongleurs, witty, erudite men to whom the monarchs turned in their hours of need.
Wait a minute, wait. Let me get this straight. Our enemies are at the borders, plague ravages the land, and the peasants are revolting. Thank God we've got Chuckles the Jongler to throw his balls around. I don't think so. That juggling doesn't look so difficult.
Oh, it does not, does it not? Perhaps you feel you could do better, no?
I'll give it a try.
Be my guest.
I had no idea what I was doing. But this guy was obviously an idiot, so how difficult could it be? A lot more difficult than I thought. That's how difficult. Still, it was my big chance to be derided by complete strangers.
Not so easy after all, is it?
No, I guess not. This gadget is a sewer key.
I do not want it, thank you.
Well, I'm not selling it, I just wanted your opinion.
It is hardly my area of expertise.
Look, a red nose.
Ah, you are a clown.
A clown?
No, if so, you would be a much better jongleur.
For a moment, an idea capered around near the spotlight of my attention, but fell down the pothole of abstraction before I could focus on it. Look, a red nose.
Oh, you say, whoop-de-doo.
Does this grease paint mean anything to you?
A red nose? And now, grease paint? You are sure you are not a clown?
Well, I was distracted by the idea again. Caper, caper, caper. Plummet. No. Gone again. Have you seen this man before?
No.
It didn't seem right to fry somebody's palm when they make their living with their hands. Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
You smoke.
No, I don't.
In that case, it means nothing to me.
Does this lab pass mean anything to you?
You work in a lab.
No, try again.
You steal lab passes?
No. Well, not as a habit. This was a special case. Feast your eyes on this.
Incroyable! Is it real?
I think so.
Some people believe that great gems always have curses upon them.
Oh, that's garbage. Although, now that I think about it, both of the people who had this before me disappeared in mysterious circumstances. And the guy who was supposed to get this was shot and then murdered in his hospital bed. Do you want it?
No, thank you.
Have I shown you this?
Oui.
Does this plaster interest you?
Well...
Forget it. Forget that I asked. What do you think of this?
It is a medical device, oui?
Oui. Yes. I've got a medieval tripod.
And my Uncle Claude has hemorrhoids. So what?
Catch you later.
Au revoir, monsieur.
At the top of the stairs was a medieval church. An ornate fountain stood in one corner of the square. I'd have to come by here in the summer to see it working. There was no water to frolic about in, and the leaf mold that was collecting there just wasn't the same somehow. In the middle of the square was a manhole. I wondered if there might be something relevant beneath street level. I couldn't open it with my bare hands.
Hey! Hey, you! What do you think you are doing? Leave that comer alone! Now!
Sorry, no harm intended.
You stay away from that!
Hello again, officer.
Hello again, monsieur.
What do you think of the juggler?
Ah, he is excellent, most watchable.
But he's blocking the thoroughfare and obstructing traffic.
So? He is amusing, the traffic isn't. If he wants to block it, who am I to say no?
You're a cop.
Ah, oui. So I am... Ah, well...
So you're not going to do anything about this guy?
No.
He probably doesn't even have a license.
Ah, a license. This I had not considered.
So what are you going to do?
The instant I return to the station, I shall check.
Return to the station? Why not just ask him?
And spoil his concentration? What kind of a barbarian do you take me for? Ah, you are a clown.
Do I look like a clown?
No, although you juggle like one. Now, if I'd known you were a clown, it would have been amusing. And not a humiliation for you.
What do you mean?
Who ever heard of a plainclothes clown?
He had a point. So you're saying that if I juggle badly with a red nose, I'd be the king of comedy. But if I juggle badly without it...
You look like a pathetic loon. Oui, monsieur, you have it.
Does this red nose mean anything to you?
No,
I'll see you around.
Oui, monsieur. I'll be there.
Hi again.
Oui? What is it this time?
I'd like to have another try at juggling, please.
You have gone on a crash course, perhaps?
No, I just had an insight into presentation.
Huh?
Allow me to demonstrate. The balls, please.
If you insist on completing your humiliation, monsieur.
Okay, now for my secret weapon. The juggler was speechless with rage. You could have mistaken him for a mime. And without a word, he collected his balls and left in a fury. Hey! You forgot one of your balls! Hey! But he didn't hear. Better still, deprived of his entertainment, the gendarme decided maybe he ought to do some policing for a change. Fixed to the wall was a sign in 3 languages. In French, English, and German it read, "In 1312, Pope Clement V dissolved the knightly order of the Templars and excommunicated its members on charges of heresy. In the following 2 years, many of the knights were hanged on this site. Their Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burnt at the stake on an island in the Seine." It was the glass the gendarme had left behind. There was no need to take the wine glass. If I wanted to get deeper into these catacombs, I was going to have to get onto that path. If the near edge hadn't crumbled away, I could have jumped it easily. Now, I wasn't so sure. Okay, it's long jump time. Here goes. Do I look crazy or something? The recent showers had made the levels rise a little, but at least the place didn't smell so much. What's a guy supposed to do with a sewer? Don't answer that. There were 3 arches, each with an inscription. Close up, I could see a faded inscription. My medieval French isn't much, but the few words I understood seemed to say, "This is where the gallows used to stand." Maybe. That sounded pretty solid. The inscription was hard to read, but I made out Templier and something about innocence. Nothing hollow there. The inscription was undecipherable. The plaster had cracked and was falling away. I wondered why. Hey, that's hollow! It was time for some brutal destruction. I'd poked a hole in an historical site. If any archaeologists came by, they'd lynch me for this. Close up, I could see the plaster was thinner where I'd broken through,
and behind it were some cogs and a lever. There was some sort of mechanism hidden inside the wall, with a lever in the middle of it. Here goes. Hey, cool! I'd pulled the lever right over. Inside the hole, I could see one of the cogs had come loose and jammed the mechanism solid. A hook dangled from the end of a heavy-duty chain. The hook was held rigidly by the tightly wound chain. A weird little boat lay tied up. I guess they used it to get maintenance crews around. Either that or the Phantom of the Opera was somewhere near. On the boat was a winching machine. There was a handle in the boat that fed out chain with a hook on the end. Inside the hole, I could see one of the cogs had come loose and jammed the mechanism solid. The door mechanism was trashed. It would take a blacksmith or an engineer to do anything with that. Boy, had I ever made a mess of that door. There was a crack in the wall. Through it, I could see a glimmer of natural light.
In the beginning was the end.
An end wrought by our enemies began our darkness.
In the end will be a beginning.
An end to our enemies heralds our new day.
Report. The military establishments are in flux. The end of the Cold War has left them with no clear goal and as obvious targets for budgetary cuts. We have successfully promoted a sense of betrayal in the upper echelons. They feel that the politicians have cast them adrift. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
Good. Mademoiselle?
Governments are giving the corporations more respect than their own citizens. A groundswell of dissatisfaction and dissidence is growing. The corporations are becoming too large and complex for their own executives to control them. A blind belief in market forces is accelerating this trend the world over. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now.
The global population's belief in those that govern it has never been lower. We have inculcated a sense of immediacy and action over forethought and planning in all the major governments. They are acting on hasty decisions that cannot be completed or revoked without appearing foolish. The pattern is emerging. Our time is now. Excellent. The tired old governments are dying a slow death from their own incompetence and our machinations. The millennium is almost upon us, and everything is in place for the rise of our new order. Almost. Professor, where is the broken sword?
As we discussed last time, with the loss of the manuscript, our search is as a corollary hindered.
And as discussed last time,
You have been furnished with a dramatically increased budget. What have you been doing with our money, Professor?
We are working on the principle that the Templars, that is to say, our predecessors,
Hold on. These are the Templars?
must have left a trail when they were hiding the clues to the sort of Baphomets location. I have a small army of historians and archaeologists ferreting out that trail.
I trust these historians and archaeologists are more trustworthy than your friend Pegram.
Pegram was loyal. He tried to protect the Lochmarn gem when the Hashashin came near.
And failed. And don't call that Syrian maniac the Hashashin. He's an assassin. Plain and simple.
That's not what he believes. He actually thinks.
Silence! Do I have to remind you that we have a sacred duty? A trust. When Philippe attempted to destroy the Order, we lost the sword and our power with it. Now we have the opportunity to reforge it. But time is short. We need results, not petty bickering, not excuses. Now, Professor Baphomet.
Yes, of course. My apologies. We will find Baphomet and the sword, manuscript or no. We have already found another element actually within Paris.
Excellent. What is it?
Well, we're not exactly sure at present.
Ha!
But I have my best people working on it. You would do well not to criticize others, Eklund. At least I have not murdered one of our own.
Of course. That guy was the bogus doctor in the hospital.
Marquet was a liability. Eklund dealt with him on my orders.
I beg your pardon, Grandmaster. I did not mean to.
Have you any good news for us, Professor?
We already know 3 of the elements. We know that Klausner had obtained the lens before he vanished.
Where was he?
Syria. We know that he arrived, but after that, nothing.
The assassin.
I fear so. It's a shame. Klausner was a good operative.
I could hear voices from the lit area. This was it. The conspiracy was revealed.
Okay, nobody move. I'm making a citizen's arrest.
At last, I had them. I could see the fear in their eyes as their little scheme came to pieces.
You're all going away for a very long time.
And you can just drop those guns. You're impressing nobody.
This will be our last meeting in person until we locate the sword of Baphomet. I hope that I don't need to emphasize the importance of finding it. Without it, our endeavors come to nothing. With the sword reforged, we will have the power to sweep the stage of all opposition. The new millennium will belong to us. The next time that we meet, it will be to become the princes of this world!
The water seemed to belong to an underground river or something. It was way too deep to belong to the catacombs. No way was I going out there without a boat. On the circle's circumference were the Templar seal and 2 Latin phrases. Non omnis moriar and clarior e tenebris. I shall not die completely, the brighter from the darkness. There was a large circle marked out on the floor with a stump in the middle. Around the circle I could see words inlaid into the stone. In the middle of the circle was a stump of stone, a shaft of daylight from the world above lancing down to touch it. I noticed 3 small notches around the edge of the stump's top. The tripod's feet fitted neatly into the notches on the top of the stump. The light, falling from above, struck the gem and scattered in 5 neat rays, and each ray picked out a letter. Starting from the seal, I could read M-A-R-I-B, Marib. Now all I had to do was figure out what the heck that meant. Nico, I've seen them.
Who?
The Templars. I spied on their meeting in the catacombs.
And you saw the Knight Templar?
I saw a bunch of guys masquerading as Templars. They're after something called the Sword of Baphomet. The bogus doctor was there, the guy who killed Marquet. The manuscript is the key, just as we thought. It shows the way to the broken sword, whatever that is.
And how does the assassin fit into all these?
He's out to stop them. These Neo-Templars, they're men and women in influential positions. Don't you see? Clantar was one of them. The assassin killed him for the manuscript, to stop them finding the sword.
But now we have got the manuscript.
Yes.
So, how does he hope to find the sword?
I don't know. They said something about a lens and a guy called Klausner who's gone to Syria, but they didn't seem to realize the significance of the very site of their meeting. You see, after they'd gone, I discovered a stone pedestal and a carved inscription. I set up the gem on the tripod, directly below a beam of light. The gem split the beam and lit the letters M-A-R-I-B.
Marib is a village in Syria.
Then the Neo-Templars are ahead of us. Klausner beat me to it.
You're not thinking of going there yourself, are you?
Why not?
These guys are crazy and dangerous. That reminds me, you should leave the gem here.
Okay. What about the tripod?
I'll send it back to Andre, anonymously.
Would you like this juggling ball?
Have you been drinking, George?
No, why?
Because you're talking crap.
Would you like this juggling ball?
No thanks.
Do you think I should go to Marib?
Syria is a long way, George.
Oh, hi.
Hello, my handsome friend.
What do you think of my ball?
I'm picking up vibrations from it. That ball will travel far.
See you later.
That's right, monsieur. You will.
The policeman was not much older than me. His face wore an expression of intense concentration. Excuse me.
Not so fast. I'd like your personal details, please.
Huh? What for?
In the event of an accident, it would help us to know where to send the body.
Look, is this really necessary? I came in here to talk to Rosso.
Why did you not say?
Have you had any reports concerning a suspicious clown?
Why, yes. There was a fracas only this morning. 3 arrests for public disorder.
And you say there was a clown involved?
A clown and a particularly offensive piece of sculpture with balloons. Are you in any way involved with the reprobate, monsieur?
No, not me. May I see Inspector Rosso?
I'm sorry, but he gave me orders not to disturb him, monsieur.
Do you know anything about Rosso's psychic techniques?
I cannot comment on my superior's methods. All I will say is that Inspector Rosso has an impressive record.
He's a good detective?
One of the best. He's a man of honor, with a fine sense of duty.
You wouldn't say he was a screwball?
Not to his face, monsieur.
Have you any idea what this tool is used for?
Oui, monsieur. It is a dipstick.
I found this red nose near the Café de la Chandelle Verte.
A clown's nose?
That's right. The guy who wore this is a savage killer.
If you say so, monsieur.
Don't you want to look at this nose?
Not particularly, monsieur.
I found this tissue.
What the hell is that?
It's evidence.
Evidence of what? Mayonnaise smuggling?
The sticky stuff is grease paint.
Ah, and that is supposed to make me happy, is it? I suggest you think long and hard about what you are doing with your life, monsieur.
Don't you want this tissue?
No, I do not.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur, I do not. I have no memory for faces.
Are you certain you don't know this man?
Oui, monsieur.
I'd like to shake you by the hand.
Do you want to be arrested for assaulting a policeman?
Huh?
I noticed the shake and shock buzzer concealed in your hand.
Are you familiar with the Club Alamut?
No, monsieur.
Have you heard of a guy named Merlin?
No, monsieur.
Do you know what this powder is?
It looks like plaster, monsieur.
Do you know what this device is used for?
Certainly, monsieur. It is for measuring the pressure of the blood.
What do you make of this?
It's a juggler's ball.
Where's Sergeant Moo?
Sergeant Moo? You haven't heard?
Heard what? Has something happened to him?
Moo is dead.
You're kidding.
No, monsieur.
That's... How? Why?
The death of a policeman never comes as a surprise, but always as a shock.
But Sergeant Moo? He was so...
I know. He was as flexible as a riot baton. Yet his heart was as warm as a freshly extracted urine sample.
Thanks for your help, officer.
Who is this?
It's me. Do you think I should go to Marib?
It's your life. Just take care of yourself.
You want I should bring you back a souvenir of Syria?
Having you back in one piece will be enough.
Really? Oh boy. I mean, I'll be careful.